Hello, everyone, and welcome to KE Matters. I'm really delighted to welcome once again David from First Ignite. Some of you may have either met David at our annual conference in June or may have joined our webinar with him before our conference. First Ignite, of course, is one of our conference sponsors, so it was great to have David and his colleagues in the room in Birmingham. So David is going to talk again about how First Ignite's platform can support making partnerships between universities and business, universities and companies, which is such an important plank of our knowledge exchange activity. And partnerships is a really key word in our modern industrial strategy, recently released by the government since we met at conference. So very well-timed reminder of how AI can help you to find the right partnerships and support those connections. I will hand over to David. We've got the chat open, so if you have any questions as David is talking, you can use the chat. Rita's just posted in there, so you know where it is. And we have 45 minutes, so yeah, plenty of time for presentation and discussion. So over to you, David.
Absolutely. Tamsin, thank you so much. And thank you, everyone, as well, for taking the time here on a Monday to connect with me. I greatly appreciate it. Yes, I'm David Mealy, Head of Partnerships here at First Ignite. It was great to be able to speak with some of you a little bit earlier in June and hoping to be able to speak with some new faces here today as well. So a little bit of context to today's discussion is that you've had the opportunity to see the First Ignite software in the past. Some of you have. I'm going to walk through a brief demonstration of our software a little bit later in our discussion, but I do want to talk about the importance of leveraging artificial intelligence to increase those corporate university partnerships for benefiting any kind of university initiative that you have internally. And so I'll be talking through two case studies that First Ignite has been working with universities and research laboratories around the world in order to take their initiatives and identify through the use of artificial intelligence organizations who, for their own reasons, are specifically invested in those activities themselves. And let me go ahead and share my screen and just talk through one of those first use cases today. So what we're looking at here is a university in the central portion of the United States called Washington University at St. Louis. And what this university was looking to leverage artificial intelligence for was that they had a new center on campus in relation to what we're looking at here, their McKelvey School of Engineering. They were looking to construct a $26 million or a decarbonization center. They have this particular facility that they were looking for additional sponsorship for. Well, in order for them to actually build and construct this massive complex, they needed to start to get corporate engagement, corporate sponsorship for this activity so that they could begin to show the United States government and the NSF, National Science Foundation, that there is going to be use for this facility. There are going to be organizations who very specifically are showing interest in this particular core facility, the different equipment that they have, the different research and capabilities that the center had. And in order to do that, they didn't have a process in place. They needed to build an experience where they can start to reach out to these organizations because external companies, external partners have interest in this initiative themselves. And that's where First Ignite's artificial intelligence was able to support. Taking information about the Decarbonization Center so that our artificial intelligence can scan millions and millions of what we call data nodes. So these are going to be things like these external companies' funding information, patent activities, hiring information, reasons why these companies are interested in this center themselves. And Washington University, by utilizing the First Ignite software from 2022 to 2024, was able to build a corporate advisory board for this particular center to then get from the NSF a $26 million grant, the largest in their university's history. That's the kind of experience by utilizing artificial intelligence, continuously building a process to engage with external partners for any initiative that you're working on today. What this particular example, a little bit more maybe advancement focused, almost fundraising focused, but if you have an initiative internally, tech transfer, core facilities, career services, specific colleges, you can utilize First Ignite to increase and build engagement anywhere on campus. First Ignite software is easy to use and easy to master, and that's because it's driven by artificial intelligence, helping us to take all of this disparate outbound business development communication that can take hours and hours of our time and shrinking that down to as little time and effort as possible so that we can really concentrate on the two most important things for our university: building these proactive outbound relationships with organizations interested in our topics, and then also developing new revenue streams into our university that might be from sources that we had never communicated with before in the past. So this is our first example that we like to share. Washington University in St. Louis. I'm going to share this link afterwards. So if you want to take a look at this story and just learn a little bit more about this experience here and what this team was looking to achieve. But also let's take a look at one of our technology transfer partners. We had the pleasure of really speaking with in great detail about this particular vein of outreach at the Knowledge Exchange UK conference in Birmingham earlier this summer. And so this is going to be for Idaho National Laboratory here in the United States. And the process that any of these teams are taking is universal. It doesn't matter if it's in the US, if it's in Europe, if it's in Asia, if it's in anywhere. By utilizing artificial intelligence software, we can take information about our initiatives to find those groups around the world invested in those spaces themselves. And so the story with our INL partner is that from 2021 to 2023, they were needing to increase outbound licensing experiences, most specifically for their nuclear research portfolio. And they don't really know what organizations have interest in this topic themselves. They got a general idea, maybe from utilizing their internal networks, maybe from working with different government contracts that they have in the past. But how do we expand that net? How do we move beyond our own personal network to find companies that really do want to partner with our facilities, but they just have never thought about it before? They haven't communicated with us. They haven't received communication with us. Maybe they've never worked with the university in the past, but they are ready to and able to support the things that you're doing. That's what Idaho National Laboratory was able to do. For any portion of their nuclear research portfolio, they were able to 3x the total number of licensing deals for that nuclear portfolio from 2021 to 2023. And that's because they were able to find organizations who, for their own reasons, were interested in licensing similar technologies, had patents in those similar places, were working with this particular research today. This example here, I'm also going to share with you another link if you'd like to read about our experience with INL, so you can see their kind of use case from utilizing First Ignite also. And the reason why I'm bringing up both of these two different experiences here is that they are both applicable in terms of the use of artificial intelligence for success. If you have an initiative in which you're seeking partnership, you can take text about that project, place it within First Ignite to find partners explicitly interested in that initiative themselves. That's what First Ignite's artificial intelligence does, takes all of that excess work, shrinks it down to just a few seconds so that we can start to identify these new partnership opportunities. Now, I'm going to transition now into just a brief demo of the software so that you can see it again, see how our partners were utilizing the software for these experiences to build and increase engagement. And so how the software works, this is our software tool. And for everyone that was able to speak with us at KEAC in June, I'm also going to be showing a new functionality as well in terms of identifying groups that, now this is going to be slightly for internal discussions, a career services portal. At my university, how do I find companies interested in hiring my students? It's a little bit outside of the scope of some of the responsibilities that all of us had at KEAC, but this is a great tool for you to see, to maybe communicate internally, to say with your career services teams, your employer relations teams, that artificial intelligence is here to support your offices as well. And so how the software works here is that let's just pretend for this university here that we are seeking a licensing partner for this tech. Well, how we utilize the software is we copy the text itself, and we're then going to move this to our First Ignite software, and this is the actual tool here. Let's go ahead and paste the text into this tool. We can look for organizations by location. I just want to speak with European groups. We can look for them by company size. I just want to see organizations of a specific size and total revenue amount. Let's go ahead and keep this broad for now and click on the launch button. And what the First Ignite software will now do is it will begin to ping millions and millions of what we call data nodes. So again, these are going to be those things like the company's financial information, hiring activities, business investors, articles written about these companies, reasons why the resulting companies and contacts for their own initiatives are invested in what's happening at this particular university, at Washington University in St. Louis, at Idaho National Laboratory. The reason why we're doing this is we want to create a replicatable process for any activity that you're working on. It's not that I've got a tech transfer initiative and I need to do it this way, or I've got a career service initiative and I need to do it this way. You can use First Ignite for all of those different activities to find these potential partnership opportunities. And again, the value proposition is that we're taking all of the time and effort associated with building and engagement with these outside parties. For example, what companies are interested in my initiative? Who are these companies should I be speaking with? What should I be speaking with them about? And shrinking that process down to as little time and effort as possible. So that, again, we can concentrate on those two things that we talked about earlier, developing these new proactive outbound relationships and also identifying new revenue streams into our university to help support our particular engagements. Now, because we're on Zoom here, it's going to take just a few extra seconds. So I already ran this here today, and let's take a look at those results together. So the first thing that we're going to see here are all of the different companies who, for their own reasons, are invested in this particular topic. Now, how would we know these companies have interest in this initiative? Well, when we click on one of these organizations, at the top of the screen, we're provided with a little vignette about what this company is, what they do, but more importantly, we're provided with information about the news articles in relation to this company, in relation to the text that you put into the system, competitive analysis of other organizations within this space to reach out to and speak with, the verified contact information for the people at this company based on their alumni status, location, job title. We'll go into this tool in a little bit more detail here shortly. And then lastly, and most importantly, is our overview section, because what this is this is the First Ignite software taking our text and saying, what is happening internally at our university that is matching to this particular company? Why is this an organization that I'd want to speak with in the first place? We also provide information about their products and applicable patents, so we can get very specific to say, hey, company, I know that you're providing product XYZ. Here at my university, we've got an initiative that's very applicable to this product line. Why don't we spend 15 minutes? I'd love to talk with you in a little bit more detail. Starting to build those outside engagements with interested partners. Now, a couple other tools within Autopilot that we have as well. The next one would be what we call our Top People tab. And what this does is this looks at all of these companies, because we could go through the 1,000 people, the 670 people, but instead this tool takes a look at those companies to say who amongst these organizations would be the kinds of individuals specifically interested in this topic themselves. And so I'm just going to do a quick little switch here. And so what this is doing is this is saying, who are my directors? Who are my vice presidents? Who are my chiefs who can take this discussion and move it forward to its end goal? Who can get me that signature on the dotted line? We provide their LinkedIn information, but more importantly, we verify their emails before we provide them to you, because we don't want to give you an email that's not going to get into this person's inbox. And then once we found that person that we want to speak with, what do we actually say to them to get their attention? Well, let's pretend that this individual is who we want to talk to. Let's click on them. And the software is going to build for us a few things. On the left side of the screen, it's going to create our notes area where we can put notes about communicating with this individual. And then over here on the right side of the screen, the software is taking our text, what is it we're trying to achieve, and then built for us editable email marketing content, so that your team, your staff, you don't have to constantly be writing this again and again. You can rely on First Ignite to build this information for you. Again, this is always about taking those long steps necessary to build these external engagements, shrink that down to as little time and effort as possible. Now, we've found those individuals that we want to communicate with. What do we want to say to them? Now, what about marketing materials that we can share with them? Well, that's going to be our summary tool. And basically what this is doing here is taking our text and building for us a one-page marketing brief, talking about the key advantages, talking about the marketplace applicability. What is it about this initiative that's so valuable to industry? And this is editable as well, so you can always change any of this content that you like, and you can download this as a PDF, an HTML, or a text document. And then finally, let's pretend that we've been really focused on a specific industry in relation to our research, and we want to start to think about other areas in which our research initiatives align. Well, our market reports tool takes your text and matches to different industries like drug discovery software, medical chemistry, fragment-based drug discovery. We provide the reason for this match and then break this industry down in greater detail. What are some of the challenges and opportunities that organizations in this industry face on a day-to-day basis that your research can help to solve? Segmenting this market into greater detail, providing additional companies for us to reach out to. This is a really wonderful brainstorming tool if we're wanting to think about other areas in which our research initiatives align. Now, this is our first AI tool for finding external partners, external organizations who, for their own reasons, are interested in what we're working on. But what about taking a look externally to find companies interested in our particular initiatives themselves? That's going to be what we call our mission control dashboard. And what this enables us to do is to put in a particular university and look over a specific period of time. We can even search for a certain topic. And when we scroll down here in the center of the screen, we're going to be able to see all of the different research that's currently happening on campus today over that time period. So we can see that here that this topic is very important for this campus. Let's go ahead and click there. And our software is going to build for us a few things. First, it's going to create an overview about what this research is and why is this beneficial to industry. Why would companies want to learn more about this particular topic? And then we've got our market reports tool. We saw this over in Autopilot, taking our text matching to a specific industry. And then lastly, we have the works and then the authors themselves. And again, hypothetical scenario here, company comes on campus to speak with us about a specific initiative. We can then say to that organization, if you're interested in this topic, have you spoken with this faculty member, this research unit, this college, strengthening those partnerships internally throughout your university. So again, we're both targeting two different ways utilizing artificial intelligence. The first, external organizations through Autopilot interested in our initiatives today, but then also through Mission Control, taking a look internally on campus to see what research is active, how can we continue to build relationships around what's happening on our campuses. This is the First Ignite software as a whole. This is what some of you had an opportunity to see at the Knowledge Exchange UK conference. I also want to share with you an additional tool that we have currently built into our software called the Career Services tool. And I'll walk through this one pretty quick because I know it's not specifically in relation to a lot of job responsibilities today, but this is another way that we can see if I've got an initiative on campus, no matter what that particular topic is, and I need to engage with outside partners, we can be utilizing the First Ignite software for that. And in this particular case, it's how do I get my university students hired, and how the software works in this practice. Again, same way, take our text, place it within the software, and we're able to identify then those companies who, for their own reasons, are hiring for these particular positions, are working on these particular topics. We can click into these companies. We can see the specific individuals. Let me switch over to the Customer Career Services portal here, who are specifically hiring for these team members today. So when we click on one of these different topics, we can go into one of these companies. We can see the jobs that they're hiring for. We can look for companies that are hiring for H-1B international team members. You can get very specific in terms of how your hiring process is currently being used. And you can also search for specific alumni. I just want to see alumni around the world who are currently hiring my particular students. I just want to see specific companies that are hiring for my students. We can utilize the First Ignite software to identify those additional hiring opportunities as well. So this is a brand new tool that just came out at the middle of June. At the middle of June is when our Career Services tool has been available. And so the reason why I wanted to show this is that no matter the initiative that we are seeking engagement for, whether it be to identify companies who want to fund and utilize equipment within our facility, whether it be to license more and more of our technologies, whether it be to get my students hired, whether it be to get a specific project at a college sponsored, we can use First Ignite for that. And our partners around the world, they're utilizing First Ignite for those exact same things today. And that's what I really wanted to share with you today, just the importance of artificial intelligence connecting any engagement that your universities have internally with external partners, and also taking a look internally. And I'm happy to answer any other questions or even walk through some examples with you all today.
Fantastic. Thank you, David. I think that it's really useful to see the careers extension actually, because in many UK universities, there will be knowledge exchange teams who work very closely with their career service or even have dual responsibilities for some of those aspects of student recruitment and industry placements and things like that. And I think it's part of our effort to create a more rounded approach to industry as well. So they come through the door and they say, well, you can do this research over here, but how about looking at what our students can do with you over here as well? So a really useful aspect of that, I think. And yes, just really useful to have a reminder about how powerful that AI tool can be in finding some of the unknown opportunities out there when time is short and you don't quite know where to start. Just having somewhere to start and go through examples is really useful. We don't have any questions in the chat, so I will encourage people to use the chat if they want to. But David, I wonder if you could just give us a sense of the conversations you were having at conference, and the kind of, was it very different conversations to those you have in the States, or is it similar kinds of challenges and opportunities that people are looking for?
Yeah, great question. It's really similar kinds of challenges and opportunities. The actions from the United States to Europe to anywhere in between of I need to connect with outside partners, it's universal. And so what we need is a universal process so that for any engagement that we have on campus, we can start to find those partners. And that's where artificial intelligence is able to support those activities for us to really regardless of our location, the kind of thing that we're trying to accomplish, being able to take text about that initiative, place it within our software, and then identify those groups that want to take part in those initiatives. If it's in England or the United States, we can still do those processes exactly the same.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's kind of reassuring to hear that everybody's facing the same challenges. And I suppose,
Absolutely.
we in the UK, we're seeing lots of stories about the financial difficulties that universities are in, and often industry engagement is one of the ways in which universities can hope to find more income. But I like the Washington example because you talked about how it kind of seemed to de-risk grant applications as well, or enhance the chance of success with a funder. And I suspect that's something which is very useful in the UK as well. So we have a question. How can universities get their data or information ready so that AI can access all there is to know about what is happening within the universities? Does everything need to migrate to the cloud? Good
Great
question.
question. Yeah. Thank you so much, Paul. And so, in relation to how First Ignite in particular, there are a variety of different artificial intelligence tools, but in terms of how First Ignite specifically is able to collect this information, this is all publicly available data. And so if a university is wanting more and more of their information out there for AI to collect and be able to present to a user, this is what's happening on campus today. This is what companies are interested in. It's all about us actually publishing that content internally, working through that particular process. Now, that in relation to today's discussion would be for our mission control tool. So seeing what's happening within our university today that's being published that we can start to push out to industry. But for our autopilot tool, no matter what that engagement is, if it's something that hasn't been published, we have published that information. It's in relation to your university. You can take text about that initiative, place it within First Ignite to then see what all these external millions and millions of companies around the world are working on in relation to your topic. So you oh, perfect. Public data means we won't compromise IP or GDPR. Yeah, no, you will not be compromising any of those activities. All of this is publicly available data to make those particular connections.
Yeah, and then I suppose the skill of the business development manager or whatever the role is in the university is to consider, the data you're not making public and how relevant those opportunities are. I can see that Mark's posted in response to some of that. I'm just going to flip to a Q&A question that's come through the Q&A, which is about the cost, David. So you did allude to this in the previous webinar that we did. Can you give us an idea of the commercial cost of using this tool for a university?
Yeah, absolutely. So First Ignite's provided in two different categories. The first would be for an enterprise package. So that means everyone within a particular office, so a technology transfer unit, a portion of your university, that cost is billed annually at 20,000 euros. Now, an important distinction here as well, and this kind of goes back to that earlier question, how would we, maybe we've got some sort of internal technology. I'm not really sure if I want to put it into First Ignite. You are also provided with a First Ignite partner relationship manager over the course of a year. Contracts are provided annually, and this individual, they work with you to make sure that you're finding return on investment from your use of the software. So, for example, what information should I be putting in to find the best matches? What should I say to this person to get their attention? This person is going to be working with you to find those successful engagements. So that's our first option. The second option is for one individual utilizing the First Ignite software. That cost is billed annually at 10,000 euros. So it becomes a little bit more premium as you decrease the total number of licenses that you're seeking. But those are our two options available to actually access the software itself.
Yeah, and I guess the other response is to follow up with you, David, and discuss on a case-by-case basis so that people can get a better idea of what the cost will be. So we'll come back to Mark's point about data and the kind of quality of detail of information available in the UK. Do you have a sense of how that is different in the UK to the US? I think I understand what Mark's talking about, and so UK analyst reports being less technology focused than US ones. Is that likely to affect the quality of the search?
Only in the sense of if UK firms are not publishing as much about what they're doing, the First Ignite software wouldn't explicitly be able to pull this information in because it's relying on these external teams to be talking to the world about what it is that they're working on, so that we can very quickly identify, would this be a group one way or another that we'd want to work with? Can I say specifically that the R&D information about the UK firms, what they're publishing, or maybe the quality and detail of it is less than other areas in the world? It's difficult to say. It's difficult to say. I would say that our international partners today, they are finding just as valuable engagements within different portions of the planet than just our university partners over the United States that are just looking for engagement within a specific state or within the United States as a whole. So I wouldn't say that the data of one particular country is less than maybe another particular country in relation to what these groups are publishing. And again, this is where your partner relationship manager, they can always be working with you. You're saying, I'm just not finding the right UK firms interested in my initiative. Well, we're going to work together. Maybe there's another data source that we need to start touching because we're always looking to improve our software. Maybe there's another data source that UK firms really utilize more than other parts of the planet that we can start to touch to bring those additional companies in. So we're always going to be working with you to improve our software for your team's success.
Yeah, there may be an aspect here of the kind of makeup of the UK industrial environment, which tends to be more smaller and medium-sized businesses than the large, very R&D intensive, and so I think their reporting is probably different in that respect as well. And maybe when you're looking for the very innovative SMEs, the scale-ups, they are likely to be not publishing as much as in terms of potential future research, but. I guess the point of this software is partly to give teams a starting point and to, the second example that you showed, to increase licensing flow as well as just kind of get the partnerships going in the first place. So it's got that dual purpose, hasn't it?
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay. So we have no further questions. Is there anything else you'd like to touch on, David? I don't want to just keep us sitting here. If nobody's got any other questions, we can close early and let people get on with their working day. But we will, of course, make the recording of this available, and we'll share some of the links that David referred to. But is there anything else you wanted to touch on, David, before we close?
Well, the final comments is that our team will be reaching out to everyone who attended here afterwards, just if you'd like to connect for a one-to-one discussion. And during those conversations, we can walk through First Ignite using examples that your office is working on today. If you have something that you're seeking external engagement for, we can walk through that together and share that process with you. But otherwise, yeah, Tamsin, thank you so much for hosting today, and thank you everyone so much for attending. It's been a pleasure to be able to speak with you again.
Fantastic. Thank you, everybody, for signing up and coming along. And we'll see you at the next KE Matters. Thank you very much, David.